I remember it like it was yesterday. That night I stumbled upon what seemed to be the scariest thing on Reddit. It was just another lazy Sunday evening, and I was scrolling through my feed, trying to find some lighthearted content, when suddenly a post caught my eye. True story, the creepiest thing I've ever read. I clicked it open, feeling that familiar itch in the back of my mind telling me not to read it, but ignoring it. Inside, there were over 250 comments and 3,000 upvotes. Enough for a real story, right? I started reading through the comments, finding myself more drawn in by every line. But then, something caught my attention. An old comment from someone named Old Timmy78, who had posted this over 5 years ago. It said, "The author of this post was a victim too." My heart skipped a beat as I clicked to read the original story. It was about a woman named Emily who had moved into an old Victorian house in a small town after her divorce. She had been looking for something new and fresh, but what she found wasn't quite so fresh. The first night, as she lay in bed, she heard strange noises from the attic. She couldn't sleep and decided to investigate. "I went up there with a flashlight and an old book I had picked up at a yard sale," Emily wrote. She turned on the light and peered into the dark, dusty space, her heart racing as she realized what was hidden in plain sight. In one of the boxes, she found a collection of old photos, each one more disturbing than the last. And then she saw it. A photo that looked like it had been taken right before the house had burned down decades ago. It was her own grandfather in the picture, but he didn't look like him at all. He was wearing a strange smile, and his eyes seemed to be watching her. Emily couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right about those photos. She tried to leave, but she felt like someone was standing behind her. She turned around, heart pounding, only to find an old man standing there, staring at her. He had a thick beard and wore a tattered jacket that looked like it belonged in the 1920s. His eyes were dull, but seemed to pierce through her soul. "Why are you here?" he asked, his voice thick with an old-world accent. Emily tried to back away, but couldn't move. "Leave," he whispered. And then, before she could even react, the door slammed shut behind her. The house was suddenly cold, and the air felt heavy, as if someone, or something, was waiting for her in the darkness. Emily frantically searched for a way out, but found that every door led back to where she started. "The only thing I remember is thinking about how quickly this whole situation went from eerie to terrifying," Emily wrote. She couldn't get away and felt like the house was closing in on her, suffocating her with its history and secrets. Days turned into weeks as she tried to make sense of what had happened. The old man never appeared again, but his presence lingered in every corner of the house. Emily eventually sold the house, leaving behind everything that had once felt like a home. She left with only her memories and a sense that something was still watching her from the shadows. The story ended there, but it left me with so many questions. Was it real, or just a vivid imagination playing tricks on her? I couldn't help but wonder if this was my own destiny, or if these stories were somehow contagious. It's been years since then, and now every time I see an old house for sale, I can't help but think about what might be hidden within its walls. And that's the story of how a post on Reddit made me paranoid about moving into any old house ever again. It's funny to think about now, but at the time, it felt like the scariest thing I'd ever read. And here I am, telling you this while trying not to look at every old Victorian on my street.